This is how to tell your brand story as a creative. But first things first, why is it even important to tell your brand story as a creative? Well, it is because more often than not, people don't buy services or products or all those fancy things that you think that you're selling and that's why they're buying. They mostly buy individuals. So they actually, when someone is saying, yes, I want to sign up with you, yes, I want you to be my client, sorry, the other way around. Yes, I want to be your client, and yes, I want to buy whatever it is that you're selling. They're actually saying, yes, I want this product or service, but I want you to deliver it. So you need to give them a good reason why they should pick you. Because when you think of, the work of a creative and why anyone should pick you, it's simply saying to them, I am the best, or possibly I am possibly the best, or this is the exact reason why you need to buy whatever it is that I'm selling. So this is why you need to tell your brand story. Your brand story helps you to communicate that purpose, and your brand story helps people to connect with you on a human level for them to know that, you are probably the right person that they should be working with. Now, to the how. How do you tell your brand story? Now, your brand story typically, and this is thinking of yourself as a personal brand. Your brand story typically would go from the before state to the transformation. So what I simply mean by that is, first of all, you want to think about the before state. Where were you before you got to this place that you are right now? What were you doing? For some people, they were, and I think not even for some people, for a lot of us, we were in like a whole different career. We're doing something else. Maybe you had like a 9 to 5. Maybe you never had a 9 to 5, but you were doing something else. You were involved in something else. And then the next stage of your brand story is the eureka moment. So you get to that place where it's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, or I've discovered this unique talent I have, or I just find that I want to express myself in a different way, or whatever, in whatever way that it happens for you. But every single person has that eureka moment where it's like, oh, life is about to change, or something is about to change for me. And then the next stage of your brand story is what steps you took after that eureka moment. So if you get to a place where it's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, right? Maybe you had a 9 to 5 and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe you discovered the talents that you have. You're just playing around with something and you're like, okay, this seems like something I could do. What steps did you take immediately afterwards? Did you maybe register with a coach? Did you get into like some learning? Did you get across to some learning materials? Did you go for a training? Basically what steps did you take after that eureka moment? And then finally is the transformation. So now you want to get to a point where it's like, okay, this is where I was before, this was the eureka moment, these are the steps I took, and then this is where I am right now. Now I am now an artist, I'm doing this and this and this, now I'm a photographer, I do this and this and this, now I am a content creator, I do this and this and this. So basically there are 4 stages. You can break that down into smaller steps, but there are basically 4 stages to defining your brand story, or to kind of telling your brand story. You don't always have to kind of say it all at once. You can decide one day to talk about where you were before now and what you used to be. Another day you can talk about the eureka moments. A common question that a lot of creatives get asked is, why did you get into what you're doing now, or why did you start to do what you're doing now? That's the eureka moment, right? Another time you can talk about the steps that you took once you got to that point where you decided to change your life forever and get into the creative space. And then finally, another day you can decide to talk about the transformation and where you are now. A couple of tips that are very important for you to note when it comes to telling your brand story, sharing your brand story. First things first, please be human, right? Like I said, this is a personal brand because I'm speaking to creatives. And when you're a creative, you want to be able to present yourself as a human being and someone that another person can connect with on a human level. So talk about struggles. If you had financial struggles, as most people do, talk about that. If there was like some kind of conflicting, mindset, bias, something within you that didn't sit right, talk about that. If you had struggles with like parents or guardians or someone saying, how are you going to leave a very stable job and get into a creative lifestyle, talk about that. Just, be a human person, be a human being. Not a human person, because more often than not, people want to connect with you as a human being. The second thing is to always share your truth, right? Always share your truth. Truth. That's a very hard word. The second thing is to always share your truth. So you want to make sure that you are talking from a personal, talk about your own unique story. It can be very tempting to kind of hinge on someone else's story. Like maybe you've heard someone else's brand story and their whole, grass to grace situation, and it sounds very sweet, and you want to kind of chip in bits or then kind of carve your own story like that so that it sounds as interesting. please, please, and please always stick to your truth, because you really do not know who you may be connecting with out there. Someone may hear something that happened to you and you felt it wasn't that interesting, but they may be able to connect with you just on that one bit, and you begin to make friends, you begin to build your community, and you can actually find clients. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope that you are able to now start thinking about carving out your own unique personal brand story, and I'll see you in the next video.